Oh. Did my stream just, did my stream drop out for you all? I went to hit a button on it, and it just suddenly, whoop, it said that Streamlabs was unresponsive. And every time they put out a new version to download it, it makes me a little anxious because I'm like, oh no, have settings been adjusted that I haven't been aware of? No, it's been smooth. Good. All right. My main screen went white and it said Streamlabs is not responding, and I'm just freaking out. Like, did I just drop the stream? All I did was hit a button. Oh my gosh. All right. So here we are, everyone. We have Pathfinder Second Edition, which, well, look, anytime an expansion comes out for an expansion or a new edition for an RPG, it can get a community talking and stirring, and people are like, blah blah blah, and others are like, yeah yeah yeah, cheer cheer cheer. I have not. I've talked to people who have been a part of the content, but I haven't delved into it yet because I want a pure. I want my pure eyes to fall upon this and to make judgments for myself. And so I want to delve into this now with you all. This is, by the way, this is free to download. The playtest material up here, if you go to Paizo's website, yeah, I think you have to create a little account. I think you can check off, like, don't send me updates or whatever. But you will get the rule book, the character sheet, the bestiary, a mod, an access to a sound effect library, and a check sheet for if you run through the playtest module, you can record how many people died, how much damage did you have to heal back, and etc. and so forth. You know what? I am going to... I'll keep this up as a reference if we need to, but let's make this the star of the show right now. Let's see. Ancestries and backgrounds, classes. Okay, so ancestries would be... it looks like that's replacing races. And backgrounds, interestingly enough. So it looks like, first blush, we have a similar system to 5th Ed where you have a race, a class, and a background of some kind. Getting into the various skills. What else? Feats. All right. Equipment. Spells. Advancement and options. Playing the game. Perception. Encounter mode. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll get to it, right? Welcome blurb. What is a role-playing game? Well, some of this stuff I don't think I have to go into detail with you all. I mean, you're here on a role-playing channel for a reason. If you do want me to go back and read over something, or if you want to take a quick look, let me know. I have no problem going back, but for some of the basics, like what is a role-playing game, or what is a game master, I am comfortable skipping over that because it'll either come back up in context as we're exploring mechanics, or it's just a part of you're here for a reason. But questions are always welcome. On its face, let's see, game's flow. Players, game master. Whether you're a player or a game master, participating in a tabletop role-playing game involves an inherent social contract. Everyone has gathered to have fun together, and the table is a safe space for everyone. Everyone has a right to play and enjoy Pathfinder regardless of their age, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, or other identities or life experiences. Pathfinder's for everyone, and Pathfinder games should be as safe, inclusive, and fun as possible for all. I don't disagree. Is this... I guess... I don't know, seeing something like that put into the opening, though. Is this necessary? Maybe. I mean, we are living in, look, in the current year, D&D is on a big upswing. You know, it's not just an obscure hobby, and D&D is a big icebreaker for a lot of people for role-playing games. 5e, yeah. It probably does. I have not. I mean, I could go back and do a comparison, but I don't something. No, yeah, it can't hurt. And I'm not against the concepts. I don't know. It just feels kind of awkward to have this paragraph put in there because it's somehow. By putting that there, does that imply that you as a GM aren't capable of being a decent human being? That a rule book has to tell you to be a decent human being? So, you know, if I know I'm making kind of weird faces at this, and it's not necessarily at the concept, but by including this in a rule book, where you already have a group of people who are gathered together in order to play, and there is this inherent social contract. Yeah, by calling attention to it, it almost seems like, is there a rampant problem where strangers are showing up at other people's role-playing games, and that they need to be able to open a book and point to this? It does seem implicit, and I think that it is understood. And maybe this is my business mindset. When you express something, you know, you assert something, it's for a reason. Pathfinder is Pathfinder Society. Well, and I imagine if it's a public game or, you know, a game that you're running in a store or something, and well, yeah. I mean, but as a part of that, you would expect, if I'm running a Pathfinder Society open game, that, you know, it's already there. And you know, maybe I'm making a big issue because I'm not arguing against the concept. It's just, I don't know. It feels kind of awkward that here we have a role playing game, and as Fluffy Sheep said, it very well may be stated in the PHB. And I mean, I'd still kind of be like, but I guess it's just something that catches you by surprise, right? Why is this here? But I'm gonna move on. Something that caught my attention. Yeah, I just don't think it's some rampant, you know... It's a role-playing game. You're supposed to... I mean, I'm not supposed to make you feel uncomfortable as, you know, one human being or friend to another. But you are supposed to be challenged. You're supposed to, you know, have these concepts. As a DM, I am supposed to play, you know, villains who want to murder war orphans after strangling their puppies in front of them. That's a type of character that I might have to present. Or in the world that we're playing at, you know, I might have to bring up uncomfortable topics. You know, we actually touched on that in, like, we briefly hinted or touched at, that we had two drunken sailors who were getting ready to make poor life decisions in one of our previous RP games. And when it says that your game table is a safe space, maybe I'm getting too defensive, because I feel like a story should move you emotionally. A story should challenge your conceptions of yourself or the world around you, or your game world acts as a parody or some kind of a reflection of something else that's occurring in the real world in which we know and operate and live. So, am I worried that suddenly, our peers are going to go and, everything is going to be, beautiful, sunshiny days, and, your villain is going to be something that's no worse than what you'd find on a children's cereal box? No. I guess it's just the assertion that, of what was there is just kind of... It makes me question, is there just such a rampant problem of whatever was brought up there that it actually has to be addressed in the opening pages of the role-playing group? Oh, I agree, Bobicus, and I think that's a part of the individual... That's a part of the individual group that's being brought up, right? I don't think Pathfinder Society has... if you're running an open game at a game store... and I don't know if necessarily someone's going to be playing an ERP right there in public in a store. But if you're sitting down with a group of friends or family members that you know, and you go over, okay, so we're going to run Curse of Strahd for D&D, right? It's horror. I'm going to keep it PG-13 like I do in my open game, and we go from there. Yeah, well... Yeah, exactly, Illumines. And look, if what Fluffy Sheep, and I have no reason to disbelieve him, said is true, and there's a statement like that in 5th edition, I didn't even know about it because I didn't read the intro, being an experienced role player. So, Ooh, I hope I didn't open a can of worms here. Just like opening pages, controversy, safe spaces, and like I'm not talking about that as a societal concept or anything along those lines. It's just, I don't know, kind of a weird intro. Okay, Roll of Game Masters. Yep. How do I play? Well, we are going to be finding that out as we continue. Pardon. Pathfinder is a rich game full of nuance from both a mechanical and storytelling perspective. Here's some basic concepts that are helpful to familiarize yourself with before running or playing a game of Pathfinder. Throughout this rulebook, you'll see formatting standards that might look a bit unusual at first. These standards are in place to make this look easier to read. Specifically, the game's rules are set apart in this text using specialized capitalization or italicization. Italics. The names of specific statistics, feats, skills, actions, activities, reactions, free actions, blah, blah, blah. That way, when you see the statement, a strike targets armor class, you know that both strike and armor class are used with their rules' meanings. Pathfinder also uses many terms that are typically expressed as abbreviations. If you're ever confused about a capitalized term or an abbreviation, okay. You can, it can be found on these pages. If a word or phrase is italicized, it is describing a spell or magic item. This way, when you see a statement, he is protected by shield, you know that in this case, the word denotes shield. Okay, got it. Yeah, no, now this is something I think that we all can agree on. It's great to have verbiage and formatting that is consistent, so that when you are narrating as a GM, or you're describing effects, or you're reading something out of a module or a rule book, yes, it helps keep things in check, and it's easy to apply. Pardon. Okay, actions start with this symbol. You can use 3 actions on your turn in any order you see fit. When you use an action, you generate an effect. Sometimes this effect is automatic. Other times, actions necessitate that you roll a die and generate an effect. Okay. So, solid is an action. Reactions are facing outwards. Reactions are similar to actions in their effects, but are used differently. You can spend only one reaction per round, and only when its specific trigger is fulfilled. You can use your reaction on your turn or another character's turn, as long as the trigger is satisfied. And then there are free actions, which are the hollow cube. Free actions follow the same trigger rules as reactions, and like reactions, you can use them on your turn or on another character's turn. Unlike with actions or reactions, you can use as many free actions per round as you like, as long as their triggers occur. However, a specific trigger can trigger only if only one of a character's free actions. Yes, Bobicus. This does seem to be... I am getting a little bit of that hint. Illumines technically D&D has 3 actions as well. Well, yeah, right? A bonus, a move, and a standard. Activities are special tasks that you complete by spending 1 or more actions. Usually they take 2 or more actions and let you do more than a single action would allow. All tasks that take longer than a turn are activities. Spellcasting is one of the most common activities, as most spells require you to spend several actions in a sequence to create their effects. Once you spend the last action required, your activity is complete and its effects occur. A few activities can be performed by spending a free action or reaction, such as spells you can cast in an instant. Activities that use 2 actions start with... okay. So yeah, here they're doubling up on... They're doubling up on the symbol here. And activities that use 3 are using 3. Format of rules. Many are feats, regardless of the type of game mechanic. Rules elements are always presented in the following format. Entries are omitted from the game's rules text when they don't apply. So not all rules elements have the... Okay. So a feat or action name and its level. Oh yeah, this is looking a lot like 4E, Bobicus, which is interesting, right? Because Pathfinder came about because of 4th edition, and people are like, but we want to still play 3rd edition, and so Paizo, who was also kind of jilted by Wizards of the Coast, because Wizards said, hey, Paizo, we're gonna publish Dungeon and Dragon magazine now. We're gonna make it internal. So Paizo was kind of left flapping in the breeze, and there was an outcry from the role-playing community that they still wanted to play a kind of 3rd edition and have continued support for a 3rd edition style D20 game. And with Paizo having Dungeon and Dragon magazine pulled from them, well, Pathfinder came about. And so, some people call it 3.75 or 3.9 D&D, something along those lines. And it's interesting now that D&D has rolled over into 5th edition, how we are seeing... I guess Pathfinder 2E in this first blush. I mean, when we get knee deep or waist deep into the rules, it might change. But on first blush, it looks like they're actually going to the streamlined format that D&D 4th edition was bringing. What's the generic term that encompasses action and activity? People are probably just going to say action. Oh, Bobicus, you think it's like a D&D 4.5? Hi, Raichi. You want to come up and say hi to everyone? Come on. You got this? Hey. Come on. People want to see you. I'm one person. I'm sure there's at least one other person who'd like to see you. No? You just want to sniff around? I mean, you are a cat. Hey. Come on. Yeah, whatever. Alright, so if there's a trait, prerequisites, any minimum ability score, feats, proficiency rank... this is the limit on how many times you can use an ability. Any extra cost of materials to use it. For instance, a spell that requires special reagents. Reactions and free actions both have triggers and requirements. Okay, yeah, this is... it's looking like a 4th edition ability card. Yeah, like he's being... I don't think he's being shy. He's just, I don't know, sniffing around right now. Dice rolls. Rolling high is good. Rolling 20 is better. Let's see. Pathfinder uses a set of polyhedral dice to accomplish this. Anything odd? I mean, we know the 7 polyhedral set. Most of us do. If you don't know what a polyhedral set is, let me know. You want your rolls total to meet or exceed the threshold. Rolling a 20 on the die means you critically succeed, which often has a greater effect than normal. You also gain a critical success if your total meets or exceeds the difficulty class by 10 or more. Aha. Yeah, Illumians, I like 4th edition. I didn't mind it. I thought making and scaling combat was awesome and very easy. The math worked. I really liked it. All right, so here's an interesting difference. I mean, this is something that if you want to incorporate as a house rule in D&D, you certainly may. But here in the pages, in Pathfinder, you gain a critical success if your total meets or exceeds the difficulty class by 20 or by 10 or more. And yeah, rolling a 1 or bad, or if you fail it. So it's not just rolling a 1 or a 20, but if you surpass, you're an expert thief and you come up to a padlock that only has a DC 7 to open and you get a 17 or higher, you don't need to have rolled a 20. You just have this success that you could narrate in some greater fashion. Illumians, you're going to be using this as a house roll in D&D. What if you do both? You roll a 1 and succeed by over 10. Ooh. The world explodes, Bobicus. There's a tear in the fabric of reality. As something that should never have been able to be accomplished is accomplished, and in spades. You have thrown a bag of holding inside a portable hole, or vice versa. Fluffy Sheep, yeah, with degrees of success. Something that actually, this is something I don't think I've made it obvious. But as we're running through our campaign on Tuesdays, if you meet a threshold, there's a baseline certain amount of information that I'll reveal. If you meet the threshold, you get kind of the core. But if you do very well on those checks, I give you extra information. It was something that we never spoke about, but it's how I've run it, and is it a hard and fast number? Not necessarily, but I do agree with you, Fluffy Sheep. I think many DMs do give better results on higher numbers than not. That's an anecdote, but at least according to me, this anecdotes are 100% true. So often you roll dice against a difficulty class determined by the GM, but when a creature or situation is testing your character's ability, it attempts a check against a difficulty class based on the most relevant of your character's statistics. The DC for any statistic is 10 plus all the same modifiers you add to a D20. Modifiers, bonuses and penalties, yep, ability modifiers. Strength of 10 gives you a +0, charisma of 17 gives you a +3, okay? So the stats are the same, right? Minus 10 divided by half, round down. Proficiency modifier. For most of your statistics, your class and other character choices will give you a proficiency rank. When you make a roll, you add a proficiency modifier that depends on your level and your proficiency rank in the statistic or item you are using. You add only one proficiency modifier to a roll. You're untrained if you have little or no knowledge in the statistic or item. Your proficiency modifier is equal to your level -2. Unless your class or another choice you've made gives you a different rank of proficiency, you are untrained. If you've been trained in the statistic or item, your proficiency modifier is equal to your level. As an expert, you are highly trained in the statistic or item. Your proficiency modifier is equal to your level +1. And at a master rank, you've achieved world-class proficiency in the statistic or item. Your proficiency modifier is equal to your character level +2. If you're legendary, your statistic or familiarity with the item is so high that you'll go down in history. Your proficiency modifier is equal to your level plus 3. So, I don't know, let's take, we have a level 10 character, because 10 is an easy number, and you want to roll a history. If you're untrained, then you will have a plus 8, I guess, proficiency to your history. If you're trained, you get a plus 10, 11 for expert, 12 for master, and a 13 for, you are a legend of history at level 10. And so you have a 13 as compared to any of the others. So that is a total, that is a total spread of 5, right? -2 to +3. The fluff on that sounds like some logarithmic scale that you'd find in World of Darkness, where 0 dots is like, you might as well, why are you even alive? You know, can you even breathe if you have a strength of 0? Like, you're probably just like a boneless pile of jelly. Meanwhile, you know, you go from 0 dots or even 1 dot to congratulations, you are a basic functioning, humanoid, to 5 dots is you are all but an archmage in Mage the Ascension, or you might as well be an antediluvian in Vampire kind of a thing. Like that's kind of a logarithmic acceleration of abilities and such. The fluff certainly backs that up, though it mechanically, I think a swing of 5 on average, statistically, that's advantage or disadvantage in 5th edition, right? If you're rolling twice, on average, that's either a +5 or a -5 to a roll, if you're rolling with some sort of advantage. Seems like they're trying to split the difference between 5e and original Pathfinder with this proficiency system. Yeah, well, I mean, you hear the word proficiency, right? And yeah. Yep. Bonuses and penalties. Other bonuses and penalties come in several types. If you have more than one bonus or penalty of the same type, you use only the highest bonus or penalty. Key terms. Okay. Ability score, alignment, ancestry. An ancestry is the broad family of people that a character or creature belongs to. Ancestry determines a character's starting hit points, languages, speed, and senses. Pardon. And it grants access to a set of ancestry feats. Armor class, attack. Class represents the main adventuring profession chosen by a character. A character's class determines most of their proficiencies, grants the character a certain number of hit points when they gain a new level, and gives access to a set of class feats. Condition, feat, GM, Galarion. Pathfinder is set on Galarion, a world with a rich diversity of peoples filled with exciting locations to explore and deadly villains to challenge heroes. Okay, so it's the main campaign world. Galarion. Got it. Hit points, initiative, level. Looks like this caps out at 20. You know, speaking of 4th edition, I loved that intrinsic to 4th edition was included epic level characters, and you could go to 30 and it was all it wasn't a splat book or a supplement. You started, you had heroic tier, paragon tier, and then you did all the crazy epic stuff. Man, some of the shenanigans in epic level 4th edition that we had. In 5th ed, epic level's 17 to 20. So don't get me wrong, I'm not looking at 20 as well, you're just a normal person at level 20. As per the spells and everything available, the capstone abilities you get, 20 is you are a demigod in D&D world. But, nostalgia goggles, right? We can wear those time and again. Level, NPCs, perception measures your character's ability to notice hidden objects or unusual situations. Oh, that's true, by the way. Going back up to initiative. Roll for initiative, the higher the result. Usually you are going to use perception. You use perception for your initiative rolls. But you might roll for some kind of skill check instead, and it'll be covered later. But it looks like here the default is going to be perception for your initiative. Player characters, rarity. Nearly all elements of the game are associated with a rarity. That is, how often they're encountered in the game's world. Rarity primarily applies to equipment and magic items, but spells, feats, and other mechanical aspects of the game also reach a specific rarity. Yeah, so what that proficiency system means, Illumines, is you may have, you may not be trained in history. It's almost like the 4th edition concept, right? Every so often, all of your scores go up in 4th edition. And so you could start out as, just, you could play the classic dumb barbarian. And by the time you get high enough level, you have just seen so much of the world and your scores have intrinsically increased. You may not have any sort of, skill, like you haven't been trained or you're proficient in history, but you've been around enough that your intrinsic history has risen. Hey, Rin, good to see you. And hi, Memory Lapse. So, Rin, thank you for the host, and Memory Lapse, welcome back. By the way, Memory, thank you. You were having a great conversation in chat last night for the RP session. That was I was enjoying following along with that while trying to also murder my PCs. I'm just kidding. The common rarity marked in black is the default. The uncommon rarity indicates an element available to only those who have been initiated to a special kind of training, grow up in a certain culture, or come from a particular part of the world. A character can't take these options by default. Specific choices, such as class features or backgrounds, might give access to certain uncommon elements. So, again, this is first blush. It's almost like a skill tree, or these aspects are going to include or preclude you from accessing certain elements of the game. Elements that are rare are practically unknown or impossible to find in the game world. These elements appear in the game only if the GM chooses to include them. Rare elements are marked in orange. And the unique rarity indicates an element that is one of a kind. This means that there's only one in the game's world. Artifacts, for example, are often unique. Unique elements are marked in bleu. One appears in the Pathfinder Playtest adventure, Doomsday Dawn. Role-playing saving throw. I can roll a saving throw to mitigate the effect. You roll a saving throw automatically. You don't have to use an action or reaction. There are 3 types of saving throws: Fortitude, Reflex, and Will. I haven't heard Fortitude, Reflex, and Will in a minute. Not that I forgot what they are, but I haven't referred to those as saves since 4th edition, which, by the way, I love that 4th edition split those into all 6 of the abilities. I thought that was brilliant. And then, of course, going back to 3rd edition. But yeah, here in the old Fort, Reflex, and Will. Skills represent a creature's ability to perform certain tasks that require training to master. Speed's a number of feet you can move using the stride action. Capital S, so this is one of your 3 actions. You can choose to stride. Spells, yes. Stride, you move your speed. Strike. You use the strike action to make an attack. You can find it on page 308. Traits an indicator that a rules element obeys special rules or has certain features. Turn can typically take up to 3 actions during its turn. Okay. Oh, yes, by the way. Character creation. The Pathfinder Second Edition character sheet is it is not portrait, it is landscape oriented. So here we go. So I had to rotate it here, and there are 3 pages, right? Fluffy Sheep says, mathematically, Fort Reflex Will works better than what 5e does, where you end up with having to roll a natural 20 to make a save in a non-proficient ability. But I haven't liked any of the house rules for saves I've seen in 5th edition either. I haven't really... I don't think I've considered house rules for saves. Are you willing to share a couple that you're familiar with, Fluffy? Clay Pigeons, hello, welcome. Now, I will be downloading a form-fillable version of this, and throughout this week and next, as we continue to explore... whoa! It's a ghost, everyone! Hey, Evelyn, good to see you. Moo. 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 So yeah, I will be getting a form-fillable version, and we will be doing some random character creation after we've spent, you know, tonight, like at least a couple days, trying to come to terms with the system and how it operates. And then we'll go through some random character creation exercises. Ancestry feats, class feats and features. And spell sheet on page 3. Don't kill the Cow King. That's right, Clay Pigeons. You farm the cows, but don't kill the Cow King. Moo, moo. Moo, moo, moo. Oh, by the way, check that out. So you have prepared and spontaneous spells. There are 4 types of magic: arcane, occult, divine, and primal. Ooh. Well, we're going to be delving into this. I don't want to get too far ahead, so let's head back. The main one I've seen is basically turning 5e saves back into Fort Reflex Will. The best seems to be Dex is Reflex, Strength Con is Fort, and Charisma Int Wiz has become Will. You know, though, in 4th edition, Fluffy, I really liked how Int and Dex were a part of Reflex, because you're either quick with your muscles or you're quick with your mind. I thought that was an excellent bridge between the two. Especially because there was a variant where you could use intelligence as a initiative modifier instead of dexterity, if your DM allowed it or whatnot, right? Because you're a quick thinker, or you're quick with your reflexes physically. I don't know. I think that could be interesting to run things that way. I can see how Int could be encapsulated into Will. But giving 3 stats like that into Will when a lot of magic requires a Will save, I don't know. Pardon me again. Alright, so here's character creation. When you sit down to play Pathfinder as a player, the first thing you need to do is create a character whose adventures you'll explore in the game. It's up to you to imagine your character's past experiences, personality, and worldview, as these will set the stage for your role-playing during the game. You'll use the game's mechanics to determine your character's starting capabilities at various tasks and the special abilities she can use during the game. This section provides a step-by-step guide for creating a character using the Pathfinder rules. These steps are presented in a suggested order, but you should feel free to complete them in an order that you prefer. In some cases, where the rule system involved in the following steps needs more explanation, they refer to sections that appear later in the chapter. Many of the steps below instruct you to fill out fields on your character sheet, but note that the character sheet is arranged for ease of use during gameplay rather than the order of steps in character creation. Additionally, the fields that appear on character sheets are comprehensive, and not all characters necessarily have something to put in each field. All characters might not have access to a reaction at first level, for example. If a field in your character sheet is not applicable to your character, just leave that field blank. Each step of character creation detailed on the following pages is marked with a corresponding number. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ancestry. Oh, and 2 is also language. Oh, probably because step 2 is your ancestry that gives you all that information. That's why. Okay. Gotcha. Yep. So big, broad step 1. We're going to color by number on our character sheet. Ivlon, I don't like separate scores for saves. Fluffy Sheep, then you get proficiency in one at creation, and Resilient Feat gives you a second one. Ivlon, I liked what 4E did by making the saves actually like an AC. Yeah, it was easy, right? You knew you always rolled to attack. You know, you didn't have to worry, is it a reactive spell or a proactive spell? Means you didn't roll, but the other guy rolls against it. Memory Lapse says, yeah, I just felt a need to explain within any homebrew, it's completely fine to always have something there that will be very hard for the players to find in the story, including the main plot itself, while still allowing there to be plenty of other plots for your players to do, like letting them think that another plot is the main plot. It's bittersweet when allowing them to do that. You're having a good conversation, Memory. What sort of hero do you want to roll, or do you want to play? The answer to this question might be as simple as a brave warrior, or as complicated as the child of elven wanderers who raised this character in a majority human city devoted to Serenre, the Dawnflower and goddess of the sun. During the step, it is a good idea to decide the general thrust of your character's personality, sketching out a few details about her past and thinking about how and why she adventures. You'll likely want to pursue Pathfinder's available ancestries, backgrounds, and classes. The tables on page 13 might also help you match your concept with some basic rules elements. Below are a number of ways you could approach creating your character concept. Once you have a good idea of the type of character you'd like to play, move on to step 2. Ancestry, background, class, or details. If one of Pathfinder's character ancestries, backgrounds, or classes particularly intrigues you, it's easy to build a character concept around one or more of these options. Table 1.1 Ancestries and 1.2 Classes on page 13 gives a brief overview of each option with much more detail provided in chapters 2 and 3 respectively. Additionally, the game has a large number of backgrounds to choose from that represent your character's upbringing, her family's livelihood, or her earliest profession. Backgrounds are detailed later on in chapter 2 beginning on page 38. So backgrounds that we're seeing in backgrounds we're seeing established in 5th edition, and you know, something that I didn't play editions older than 3rd, and 3rd from my experience with it kind of allowed for the possibility of you having a background or a profession, because you could take you could take profession smith or profession whatever, but that was competing against very valuable skill points to go into other things. In 4th edition, I don't know if it was necessarily there, but that's when, at least in my homebrew game, that's when I came up with this background skill feature. You had to have done something that made you more than just, you know, you were born with a sword and shield in your hand, and since you're a baby, you've been an adventurer or a sorcerer or whatever. And so that's what has allowed, that is what allowed your character to transition from being a normal person into this life of adventure. And 5th edition now kind of captures that in a bridge that is between fluff and crunch, or, you know, background storytelling elements and rules. And it looks like that's captured here in Pathfinder 2e. Now, I may have played Pathfinder once a very long time ago, so I don't really remember anything about 1st edition. So anything I'm reading is from the perspective of, this is my first encounter in a detailed fashion with Pathfinder. Oh yeah, that's true. Well, they were established, but they were background feats, I think. Like, you could take it to fill a feat slot, or backgrounds were an option that you could start out. That, you know, you were absolutely correct, Ivlon. They were an option your DM could allow, and then you could take other background feats and such to accent. So your background kind of became a part of your class because it competed for your feat slots also. In original D&D, even having a name was optional. We are all just nameless, faceless protagonists. Building a character around a specific ancestry or class can be a fun exercise in interacting with the world's lore. You might consider whether you'd like to build a typical member of your character's ancestry or class as described in the relevant entry, or whether you'd prefer to play a character who defies commonly held notions about her people. For example, you could play a dwarf with a wide-eyed sense of wondrous innocence and zest for change, or a performing rogue capable of amazing acrobatic feats but with little interest in sneaking about. Of course, you can always build a concept from any aspect of a character's details. You can use role-playing to challenge not only the norms of Pathfinder's fictional world, but also real-life societal norms. Your character might challenge binary gender options, explore cultural identity, have a disability, have any sexual orientation, or any combination of these suggestions. Again, I'm not against this occurring. It just, I don't know. It's 2018, and this might very well be, you know, what we find in rule books. You know, and this is, you know, this is coming from someone who plays as a male. I play female characters. As someone who actually had the chance to be reborn in a like a reincarnated in a particular fashion, and thought it was very inconvenient to be a female, and so was sort of like, she didn't die, but was sort of like actively reincarnated into just a male version of herself, because it was just a lot more convenient that way to go about her life. I don't know, maybe just because these topics are so charged, and they can be, they can seem divisive, or they can seem polarizing, or even people who don't disagree with the notions just don't like talking about it, because when you inject this sort of stuff into, you know, a community fantasy setting, all of a sudden it feels like we're bringing, you know, we're bringing something real into fantasy, and that's, I don't know, maybe not everyone is for that. Exactly, Fluffy Sheep. See, you just turned into a female dwarf. Clay Pigeons, party is a warlock rogue, a wizard, a battle master fighter, and a barbarian druid, and now a life cleric. What should I make now? Oh, are you doing, wait, Clay Pigeons, opinion time. My character died. Variant human, Eldritch Knight. Well, I'm sorry to hear that your character died. What happened to your character that this happened? And Clay, just because the party has something along those lines doesn't mean you play what you want. Do you want to play a warlock rogue also? In fifth edition especially, you can have two very different warlock rogues. Or just because there's a warlock rogue doesn't mean that you can't play a warlock or a rogue. Play whatever you want, Clay. There's enough differences between this stuff. Hey, Plague Doctor. That you don't have to worry about redundancy that much. Yeah, no problem, Plague. Big Joe, they do, and you know, it doesn't make, I'm not uncomfortable talking about that stuff, but again, having that inserted into, hey Ostomer, great to see you again, thank you for the host. Having that, I guess, directly inserted and then initially and then reasserted, I don't know. It's such a weird line in the sand, isn't it? I mean, that's what a lot of our own personal opinions and comfort zones really are. But when you see it in front of you as a part of, here's this, and why don't you explore this, and we're going to prompt this and put it in front of you, you know, for many people who are either living it or, you know, who are for or against one thing or another, it can be kind of polarizing or discomforting when we're talking about a fantasy setting or something like that, and then, you know, maybe the veil is lifted by just by saying those words. And I'm definitely for challenging conceptions, and I'm the type of person who likes exploring ideas, whether or not I agree with them, because ultimately that will make you a more well-rounded person. And if you challenge yourself to open yourself up to an idea that you may initially disagree with, and even if you disagree with it after the fact, whatever it is, I'm not being specific, you at least know that you tried, you considered something different. You opened yourself up, and maybe you'll do it again, you know, after a while, but you're comfortable where you're at. Anyway, I'm sorry, we're going off to the side again on this. It's just, I don't know, kind of, when we're trying to get in the mood of fantasy and, you know, adventure and worlds and magic, and suddenly relevant, you know, like topical or prevalent or topical, you know, issues are directly inserted in front of you, it kind of breaks the... To me, it feels like it's kind of breaking the mood. Because we can have conversations about a lot of this. But, let's see. Fluffy Sheep. I think if being unique in the party is important to you, Ranger seems like the best choice. Yeah, because there's not a Ranger up there, and that would fill a good slot, right? Clay Pigeons, very bad rolls, got ganged up on by several Umber Hulks, and ripped apart. Failed a bunch of charisma saves for the confusion. And, you're playing Out of the Abyss. Gotcha, Clay. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that happened. Hopefully your DM gave you a very well-narrated and valiant death. You know, what was it, a bit of a tearjerker? Was everyone like, oh, poor Clay Pigeons, or your character's name, insert name here. You know, we'll never forget you, or did they run away, or like were you just sort of gobbled up, or is there a body that, you know, your friends are going to to bury or something like that to commemorate? Perhaps you like to play a character who has a devout believer in the faith of a specific deity. Pathfinder is a rich world full of myriad deities whose faiths and philosophies span a wide range, from Caden Kalayan, the drunken hero of good-hearted adventuring, to Desna, the Song of Spheres and goddess of dreaming in the stars, to Iomide, the inheritor, goddess of honor, justice, and rulership. A full list of Pathfinder's major deities is on page 288. Your character might also be drawn to a particular faith that you decide she should be a cleric or paladin of that deity, or your character might instead simply be the child of a strongly devoted parishioner or lay worshipper who applies her faith's teachings to her daily life. Your allies. Before the game begins, it's always a good idea for the players to discuss how their characters might know each other and work together throughout the course of their adventures. You might even want to coordinate with the other players when forming your character concept, although you should never feel pressured into making and playing a character that doesn't interest you. Hey, Clay Pigeons, that is solid advice from Pathfinder and also from those of us here in the normal 5e community. Just because someone is playing something else doesn't mean that you can't also play it. Such coordination might involve your character's backstory, such as having them hail from the same village, or creating characters who are relatives. It might also involve mechanical aspects, such as creating characters whose abilities in combat complement each other. In the latter case, it can be helpful for a party to include characters who deal damage, characters who can absorb damage, and characters who can provide healing. However, Pathfinder's classes include a lot of choices, and there are many options for building each type of character, so don't let these broad categories restrain your decisions. Hey, Steel Dust, speaking of well-narrated deaths, my Warlock had the worst and lamest death I've ever seen. Well, Steel Dust, would you like to narrate that worst and lame death for us here? Illumines, I'm fine with having both systems. Both systems of what, Illumines? Ability scores, I think we got that. Character sheet. Ancestries and classes. Each player takes a different approach to character creation. Some focus on the details that best fit the story. Some look for combinations that synergize well mechanically, and others combine aspects of these approaches. There is no wrong way to build a character. The following table provides at-a-glance information for those looking to optimize their starting ability scores. Yes, we must min-max from the beginning. Yes. For entries on Table 1-1 Ancestries that say free, you can choose which ability score receives the provided ability boost. This table also indicates any ability flaws that an ancestry might have. You can find more about ability boosts and ability flaws in ability scores on page 18. 1-2 classes lists each class's ability key score, or key ability score. The ability score used to calculate the potency of many of their class abilities. Characters receive an ability boost in that ability score when they choose their class. This table also lists one or more secondary ability scores that can be important to members of that class. Keep in mind that a character's background also affects her ability scores, though there's more flexibility in the ability boosts that backgrounds provide than in those from classes. For descriptions of available backgrounds, see 38. Okay, so here are... They're not races, these are ancestries. Oh, D&D and Pathfinder. Hey, Bubonic. Speaking of people who've read over the material, Bubonic has been looking over it since he got the physical book at his game store a little while ago. Illumines, I sure love min-maxing. Bubonic 1, or if you're rolling stats, you only get 3 boosts. Clay Pigeons, I was the tank, 24 AC, and just got in the way of everything. Barbarian and I killed off 3 together, but it was clear we would get overwhelmed. I held the line long enough for the party to escape, blew all my cooldowns, second wind, action surge, potions, etc. Killed 3 more before the rest overwhelmed me. My death was a kill stroke, hacking a head off as claws and jaws rended me. No body to retrieve, and pretty sure it's not a possibility. Oh my. Fluffy Sheep, I love ability flaws. I like them as a rule for new players to help get them into the RP frame of mind. Experienced players usually have a pretty good handle on how to do character flaws. Dwarves are short, stocky people who are often stubborn, fierce, and devoted. So dwarf, elf, gnome, goblin, by the way, is a core race. Or if we're not using race as the term, as the ancestry available to your character, you can play a goblin. Because, look, Pathfinder and goblins, like, they're a thing. Goblins are short, scrappy, energetic people who have spent millennia maligned and feared. Gnomes are short, slight, mercurial people who crave change and excitement. Elves are tall, slender, long-lived people whose culture peaked long ago. Halflings are short, adaptable people who exhibit remarkable curiosity and humor. And humans. Humans are incredibly diverse in terms of everything from their body size to their perspectives and personalities. Half-elf and half-orc ancestries are accessible through human ancestry feats. So if you choose to play a human, and then with one of your feats, and I hope that it's balanced in a way that it's not considered a feat tax, if you're familiar with that term, feat tax. But it looks like you play a human, and you take the feat to be a half-elf or a half-orc. So ability boosts, Constitution, Wisdom free, Dex int free. Humans get 2 frees, but no flaws. Okay. You're making a goblin alchemist? Oh, you get 10. Okay, you get all 10s to begin with, and you can go from there. Hey, Corita. The alchemist throws alchemical bombs and drinks concoctions of his own making during combat. So alchemist, barbarian, bard, cleric, druid, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, wizard. Imagination, thank you. Thank you for that. Characters receive an ability boost in their class's key ability score. Alright, so yeah, your ancestry, if you start with all 10s there, you're going to get your racial boost, or I guess we're not using race or racial in this game. And then you'll get a key ability score and then some secondary ones here. Int, con, dex, strength. This is reminding me a lot of 4th edition also, where you would have your class options depending on which way you wanted to play it, and your class options would have it'd either be like a Y shape or a V shape or an I shape in terms of what your primary, secondary, or sometimes even tertiary important ability scores would be. Ah, don't worry about it, Corita. Only a bit late. Bubonic 1, every player gets 4 boosts at level 1. Same at 5, 10, 15, 20. Every background gets 1 set and 1 free. Every class gets 1 in its prime. Hello, Mara. Pocket, thank you very much. How unexpected. Thank you very much, Pocket Punch. It's a big grenade! Yes, only the most awesome stream ever, Mara. We're starting into chapter 1 of the Pathfinder playtest to discover the system, and we're talking about it in general, like within itself, compared to our own experiences, and we've also compared it to some aspects of D&D 4th or 5th edition, too. So we're sitting down and we're having a conversation, really, is what's been going on. Tried to slink into the store and to the table, but that got... Yeah, yeah, we got you, Corrida. Clay Pigeons, Halfling Diviner 2, Lore Bard, Take Lucky, Bountiful Luck. Use Lore Bard Inspiration Shenanigans to influence rolls, troll the DM by not really caring what the dice rolls are. Pocket Punch, I've been reading the books. It's alright in my opinion. Well, hey... so, I mean, Bubonic is kind of going a little bit into this as we're going along, Pocket. You are welcome to throw out, opinions and observations yourself. This is a conversational stream tonight. I'm not going to be generating characters. We're going to be sitting down and exploring what we have to offer, or, what the system has to offer us. Yeah, no problem, Mara. Don't worry about it, Corrida. So 12 classes, and instead of, in D&D you have the Warlock. Instead of Warlock, we have Alchemist, and the others are kind of the standard, standard fantasy classes, if you want to call them as such. Barbarian flies into a rage on the battlefield, smashing foes with abandon. Performance and secrets on the occult enable the bard to distract foes and inspire allies. Cleric calls on the power of a deity to cast spells that can heal allies or harm foes. Druid uses natural world's magic to bolster her and her allies' strength while calling pain down upon enemies. Fighter is a master of weapons, martial techniques, and powerful attacks. Monk spins the secrets of martial arts into dazzling displays of battlefield prowess. Alchemist is its kind of new thing. It looks like... Ranger's master of using his surroundings, including traps. Okay, so the other's up to Ranger. I would be interested then in seeing, like animal allies. Well, there's the Beastmaster. Hey, Big Joe. Thank you very much. Including using traps, that could be interesting. That has caught my attention as what is perhaps different than, the standard D&D fantasy classes. Rogue's a multi-talented master of skullduggery who strikes when enemies least expect it. That seems vanilla. Sorcerer's magical might flows through her blood and manifests. Okay, that seems vanilla. Wizard is an eminent scholar whose reservoirs of arcane knowledge power his wondrous spells. Okay. So the Ranger actually intrigues me because it seems like maybe there's something new to be offered here by using traps. Oh, no problem, Mara. Thank you for coming by and saying hi at least. Have an awesome day, or evening, or morning, or whatever it is for you. Hey, Shlomo, good to see you again. Alright, so then we choose an ancestry. Your character's ancestry is one of her most important characteristics. Table 1.1 Ancestries on page 13 provides an overview of Pathfinder's core ancestry options, and each ancestry is fully detailed in Chapter 2. Ancestry affects your character's ability scores, total hit points, size, speed, languages, and much more. Additionally, at first level, your character receives an ancestry feat that represents an ability or quality she was born with or trained in at an early age. Write your character's ancestry on the appropriate line at the top of your character sheet. Next to your ability scores, note the ability boosts and any flaw your character gains from her ancestry. Ability scores are finalized during Step 5. Note the number of hit points she gains from her ancestry. Finally, on the appropriate lines, note your character's size, speed, and languages. If your character's ancestry provides her with special abilities, note them in the appropriate spaces, such as Dark Vision in the Senses section of the first page. Note the ancestry feat that your character receives in the proper section on your character's sheet's second page. Yeah, because occult is one of the 4 magic types, Pocket Punch. There's Arcane, Divine, Primal, and then this 4th one of Occult. And at first I'm like, oh, are we talking Warlock? And, well, I guess Bard. One thing I like is that they've taken spells away from Rangers and Pallies. Rangers are stalkers who are effectively best against one opponent until higher levels. Then we're going to choose a background. Your character's background might represent a special aptitude she's been honing since her youth, detail her upbringing, or illuminate some other aspect of her life before she became an adventurer. The available character backgrounds are described beginning on page 38. Backgrounds typically provide benefits to your character in the form of 2 ability boosts. One that can be applied to either of your 2 specific ability scores, and one that is free, training a lore, skill, specific feat, etc. Record your character's background on the appropriate line. Okay. Choose a class. Finalize your ability scores. Okay. So I don't know if going over it like this step by step, I don't know if this is going to be really effective as a conversation or a presentation, because this is something that if we're going to be making characters later on, I can just narrate the steps along the way, kind of like what we do for our D&D characters. If you want, I will go back. And I will I'll go over a section, but I don't know if going over 1 or 2 paragraphs of character creation without doing it in front of you makes for a good conversation or presentation. This is sticking with the 9 alignments. Age. Unless they have to do something mechanical, your character's age is a major factor. When considering... okay, there aren't any mechanical adjustments for your character for being particularly old, but you might want to take that into account when considering your starting ability scores. For instance, an old wise character might have a higher wisdom score, so you might want to make sure to put some of your free ability points into wisdom. Here we can have a good conversation. How does Pathfinder view alignment? Pallies are effectively field commanders. Aren't Pallies must be lawfully good in D&D also? In 3rd edition, yes. I don't think so in 4th, and in 5th edition, they suggest alignments, but they are not required for a paladin to take in 5th edition D&D Illumines. Oh yeah, Fluffy got it. No Pallies can be any alignment in 5th ed. Bubonic's on it too. Well, why can't you just house rule that? They have said, and I quote, "We are looking into making anti-Pallies, just not for playtest." Ivlon, because there are rules for alignment changes for classes in original Pathfinder and D&D. Yeah. And there's also, there are spells that are dependent upon alignment or affect alignment as a stat score. Or as like a stat on your character sheet. I don't ever let your anti-paladin touch a regular one. Oh, right. Singularity will happen, says Illumines. Yeah. It's like a matter-antimatter. We're going to go into warp. Or I guess in this case we'll go into smite or something that's appropriate for paladins. Bubonic one, and probably not for initial rules release, since there's somewhere down the line expect the option of anti-pallies. Pocket punch, I like usually for paladins to be as close to their god's alignment as possible, otherwise it affects their abilities. Yeah, and some people do play that. Are you walking in this deity's or this saint's specific footsteps, or are you just following an example broadly? And you're meandering to find your path and test your boundaries. There's a lot of different philosophies regarding that. So let's, speaking of philosophies, let's look at Pathfinder Second Edition's take on alignment, because this can be a hot topic too among some people. Your character's alignment is an indicator of her current philosophy, behavior, or cosmic status with regard to her morality and personal tendencies. Her alignment can change in play as her beliefs change, and you realize that your character's actions reflect a different alignment than the ones recorded on your character sheet. In most cases, you can just change your character's alignment to match your new discoveries about your character and continue playing. If you play a paladin, though, your character's... Aha! So here, if you play a paladin, though, your character's alignment must be lawful good. And if you play a cleric, her alignment must be one allowed for her deity. Otherwise, your character loses some of her class abilities until she atones. So here we are finding that paladins are locked into lawful good, and that clerics are locked into a limited array of alignments. Otherwise, it sounds like, well, it said you lose some features, and I guess we'll get to that. There are 9 possible alignments in Pathfinder, as shown on the table. If your alignment has any components other than neutral, your character gains traits based on those alignment components. This might affect the way various spells... really? Personal opinion. You can differ. That's fine. But... various spells, items, and creatures interact with your character. Your character's alignment is measured by 2 sets of opposed values, the axis of good and evil and the axis of law and chaos. A character who isn't committed strongly to either side is neutral on that axis. Keep in mind that alignment is a complicated subject, and even acts that might be considered good can be used for nefarious purposes, and vice versa. So alignment matters, but alignment doesn't matter. The GM is the final arbiter of your questions about how specific actions might affect your character's alignment. Pocket. Yes, I see evil god paladins have to be lawful good. There you go, Pocket Punch. I'm never a fan of taking powers away for being the wrong alignment. Instead, give the players extra roleplay challenges to deal with the conflict. Yeah, I would agree with you 100% there, Fluffy Sheep. And Bubonic One, another gripe I agree with you on. Ivlon says, see, the problem is that paladins are not supposed to have patron deities. I guess I can see where you're going with that, Ivlon. Although, I mean, intrinsically, they're following an oath of some kind. So I guess you could have a knight who's a paladin, and this oath is, the power from within, and you do not need a deity because your power, your magic comes from within yourself, and your ability to exert yourself onto reality by a certain set of rules. Although I think many have this intrinsic, I am following a faith, and I am I'm a chamber militant of some sort of an organization. Alignment, certain spells affect you. That's an interesting take. Why wouldn't a paladin have a patron deity? Ivlon, originally they're supposed to be warriors of righteousness. They're not powered by a god, not originally. Shlomo says, maybe paladins just can't be evil if they're called something different. Yeah, a paladin by any other name would still smell like metal. Yeah, paladins can worship a deity, or kind of in 5th edition, like, they have the oaths. The oaths can be sworn to a specific deity, or they can just be, I swear to you upon my honor, my liege, that I will go forth and etc. and so forth, etc. 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 Okay, so I'm kind of cringing at alignment personally. Again, you can have your own opinion, and that is perfectly fine. But I'm already starting to get yucky, icky feelings from alignment. Law and Chaos. Your character has a lawful alignment, and she values consistency, stability, and predictability over flexibility. Lawful characters have a set system in life, whether it's meticulously planning day-to-day activities, carefully following a set of official or unofficial laws, or strictly adhering to a code of honor. On the other hand, if she values flexibility, creatively, and spontaneity over consistency, she has a chaotic. I like that. That's fine. That doesn't mean she decides her life by choosing randomly with the roll of a dice, however. Or for people who like playing neutral by the, I'm just going to murder this dude and steal his wallet, but then I'm going to go save a baby in a stroller, or like in a stroller that has gotten away from her mom going downhill, and therefore karmically, I've balanced things out. I've murdered in cold blood, and I've saved an innocent, and therefore I'm a neutral character. Or if we use the Fallout 3 reference, you nuke Megaton, but you give like 3 gallons of distilled water to the very thirsty, like, homeless person in the wastes, and that will counter all of the bad karma you got by destroying an entire town because you gave a beggar distilled water. A knight who doesn't go pally can be considered a noble fighter, can pick chevalier. Pretty sure people will nuke the board with this Pally's alignment problem. Lumines, but this is still a playtest. Let's all take it with a grain of salt. I agree, Lumines. It is a playtest, and I want to be careful that I may have an opinion that I'm expressing to you, but you do not have to agree with it. Chaotic neutral is just a coward way out to roleplay. Oh yeah. 3 waters is greater than 1 nuclear bomb going off, destroying an entire town of innocent people. Well, and Illumines, chaotic neutral is kind of that coward's way out. If you just if you take that attitude of lol random, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm crazy, and of course, why would anyone want to be with you in a party if all you do is who knows? Joe. Well, we have a Joe out here, but not this Joe. Hopefully, not this Joe. Joe PC doesn't know whether he's going to get up and murder someone today because he's chaotic neutral, and that's why playing your alignment as a stat on your sheet can be dangerous, because it has a way of stripping the humanity away from your character, and suddenly you use it as kind of a lazy role-playing cue. So that way you don't have to think, you don't have to challenge yourself. You just say, all right, I'm lawful good, I'm going to save the baby, or I'm chaotic neutral, I'm going to go plant a tree, and then I'm going to fertilize it by killing a puppy and burying it in the tree. You're like, what? Stop it. No. Bad PC. Do not use your alignment. I mean, unfortunately, if this game uses alignment for mechanical purposes, it's almost reinforcing some of these stereotypes. But I would urge you can do differently. Look, every game session, every PC and DM or GM is different. Every tabletop group or even session is different. Please don't reduce your character to alignment. Please. Please. Fluffy Sheep says, I think paladins have to get their power from somewhere. They can be more cleric-like in religious devotion, or more sorcerer-like and draw power from, like humanity's collective sense of honor or something, as long as the player has a good concept. I like considering that as it's the power from within, right? So it's kind of like a sorcerer, but, your will. Because what is magic but the bending of reality to your will? Your will is so strong. Like, you don't need a wizard book in order to take reality and shape it like this. Your will is so strong as a paladin, you exert it on reality, and therefore magical effects occur because you're able to overcome some latent, hurdle that a lot of other people just can't do on a normal basis. But because you can exert yourself so hard into reality, it can manifest magic. Now, you can say, well, look, gods, by default, we consider outside of reality, so sure, you channel a god's power, and that's perfectly fine. But Fluffy Sheep, if you're looking for a way for a paladin to not have to draw power from a deity, look at the nature of what magic is, not just divine or arcane, of what all magic is. It is a shaping or an effect of reality by the person wielding the magic to his or her own ends. And so if you are so devoted or committed in a way that you're seeking these miracles or you're seeking these, above and beyond measures, the power to shape reality, i.e. magic, comes from within you. And so therefore, as long as you're abiding by your set of rules, by your oath, your paladin oath, that's your spell book. That's your arcane focus or whatever. Because you're exerting yourself on reality. Shlomo says, I killed chaotic neutral character in game as a neutral good one. Oh, well, is that because they're going off the rails and just turning into a murder hobo? Bubonic one fertilized a tree by killing a puppy. That's not right. Big Joe Reed, Joe's on the edge. 50-50 chance I'll save the kid or burn down a church. There you go. That's playing to chaotic neutral, Big Joe. That is exactly how you play that mechanic. I mean alignment. I mean mechanic. It sounds like true neutral. And Shlomo, yes, yeah, for being the low random murder hobo. How did the character? How did the player take that decision? And how did the character react when yours turned on him or her? Okay, so many characters are in the middle, generally obeying the law or following a code of conduct in many situations, but bending the rules when the situation requires it. If your character is in the middle too, she is neutral on the axis. Good and evil. Your character has a good alignment if she considers the happiness of others above her own and works selflessly to assist others, even those who aren't her friends and family. She is also good if she values protecting others from harm, even when it puts her in danger. Selfless and selfish. She has an evil alignment if she's willing to victimize others for her own selfish gain, and it's even more likely that she's evil if she enjoys inflicting harm or actively seeks harm others, or to harm others. If your character falls somewhere in the middle, she's likely neutral on this axis. AC and TAC. No! 2 armor classes? Math. I'm lazy. Ew. He stopped playing with us. I tried to speak to him IRL for a few weeks. So, Shlomo, what was the... Well, you know, to use the phrase, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What did this other character, or what did this other player do that warranted you or the other party members just turning on him and murking him? Corrida, someone said that the hate paladins are bound to lawful good. I know that isn't true for Pathfinder 1. Did they revert that? Yeah, in Pathfinder 2 it says paladins must be lawful good. Fluffy Sheep, maybe it's all just a misunderstanding. You didn't mean to kill the kid, but the DM misheard you, and one thing led to another. Yeah, I know, touch armor class? Ugh, I want to be lazy. I don't want to keep track of multiple ACs. Your character has 2 values to represent how difficult she is to strike in combat. These are her armor class and her touch armor class. Most attacks will be made against your character's AC, while those that need only to touch her to be effective are made against her TAC. To calculate her AC, 10 plus Dex modifier, up to her armor's dexterity cap, plus her proficiency modifier with her armor, plus her armor's item bonus to AC and other bonuses and penalties that always apply. To calculate TAC, add 10 plus her dexterity modifier, plus her proficiency bonus, plus her armor's item bonus, attack, and the other blah, 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 blah. What? Oh. Sorry, oh my. How embarrassing. You don't mind TAC, but I don't really know it adds anything either. Illumines. Even I have played on, and I use that touch armor class. Shlomo, he was able to run away from justice of the city after killing some people. So I said, well, law not working, only one way to fix it. And I talked to him about not acting like an idiot before, not after. Ah. Corrida, good thing it's a playtest. Pocket Punch, I really enjoy Bulk, but the next thing you're about to read. No! Pocket Punch. Your character's maximum bulk determines how much weight she can comfortably carry. If she is carrying a total amount of bulk that equals or exceeds 5 plus her strength modifier, she is encumbered. She cannot carry a total amount of bulk that exceeds 10 plus her strength modifier. Your character's current bulk is equal to the sum of all of her items. Keep in mind that every 10 light items make up 1 bulk. For more... Whoa. Bubonic One, Bulk is awesome. I agree. I also don't mind Skull, his companion from Power Rangers. Corrida, I heard from closed playtesters that they are closely listening to critique and have outright changed things due to massive universal feedback. Shlomo says Bulk is great. Sorry, it's one of the things about TUE I like. Bulk is Dark Souls. I think Bulk should always be in all caps. My character's Bulk is 10. I think Bulk makes you think about what you're carrying. Maddie needs to no. Sorry, Corrida. Part of it is for funsies. Part of it's for funsies, and other it's just I get into the weeds sometimes, and it's just it's a fun way to stay energetic as we start getting the detail here. So yeah, this is encumbrance. This is carrying capacity. I mean, because look, let's be fair. In D&D, you have an encumbrance. Well, encumbrance I think is technically a variant rule, but you have a carrying capacity, and you have to add up every piece of chalk. You have to add up all this other stuff. You know, normally it's 15 times your strength score, and there you go. If you're at or under that, you're fine. And you know what? I'm sure 90% of the time, even higher, your character doesn't have to worry, even if you have an 8 or a 10, 8 or a 10 strength. Especially because you can't do things like wear heavy armor until you have a strength score of at least 13. No, it's fine, Corita. You gotta play along. You gotta engage. I played a barbarian named Bulk once. Bulk smash! Bulk smash! The true fix that you either love or hate is coming up soon. All right, we're gonna build to it, Bubonic. A total amount of bulk that equals or exceeds 5+ your strength modifier. The sum of all her items. And so every 10 light items make up 1 bulk. And so we're treating our inventory, it sounds almost like coinage, right? 10 copper to a silver, 10 silver to a gold, 10 gold to a platinum. So here, for every 10 light items is 1 bulk. And you get 5+ your strength modifier in bulk. Deity, note that the deity your character worships, if any. Clerics and paladins must worship a deity. You have no creative input otherwise. You must worship a deity to draw otherworldly power from somewhere. I say that with a bit of sarcasm. I really love that in 5th edition they approached it with it's a domain, or the fact that you swear an oath, or you could just have this power. You know, it comes from a faith of some kind. Even if, as I think it was Fluffy Sheep said before, you have a faith in humanity and you want to serve humanity. And so you're drawing your power from this collective, whatever, magical pool of positivity or culture or society. Note your character's gender if applicable. Characters of all genders are equally likely to become adventurers. Does this mean... I know this is nitpicking. And we're having a meta conversation. But can I not run an Amazon society where only women are allowed to go out and adventure? And you know, or you know, a very, if we go back into many cultures of medieval, Western, or really a lot around the world, can we not have a male-dominated culture? Ultimately, this is our game, and we don't have to abide by the rules in the book, but it's just kind of weird that they say that. Like, is that necessary? Have people been creating characters of their own design for so long? Or is there a rash of some kind of gender-centric dog whistle or very overtly imprinted rules in rule books that state, you know, a party must be comprised of at least 70% or more males or females, or, I don't know, dog people or something like that, or attack helicopters or whatever. Like, I get it. I'm not arguing against it, but when you put it in print like that, it seems, just to me, it has that grating effect of, this must be a problem because why are you saying it as such? Big Joe, have a great night. You know, hopefully that coin flipped and worked out and you didn't burn down an orphanage. But if you did, then tomorrow, you know, just make sure that you give $5 to a charity, and that will completely karmically balance you out. Well, and you know, Illumines, especially when there's not a mechanical benefit, right? Unless you homebrew something. You know, if you want to be tongue-in-cheek and like, well, males get -1 int, but +1 strength, and females get +1 dex, but -1 wisdom or something like that. I mean, look, that's a homebrew rule. Or, you know, or we get into like different ways of sexual dimorphism. Kind of similar in bubonic one. I'm not saying this to put you on blast because I like the idea, just for presentation purposes. You know, different genders have different heights and builds, or, you know, if we get into bugs or even some, you know, some other species, there are just big differences between men and women, maybe even mechanical ones. But you might have, you know, the males of a species might be a foot taller on average than the females, or you get into another group, and heck, we can even say that Pathfinder humans, the women in the campaign world by default are 1.5 feet time, 1.5 feet times 1.5 feet taller than, you know, the tallest male. You know, they're both medium creatures, but yeah, it's Illumines. It does, you know, and that's why I guess I get a little like, why is it brought up? If it's not adding something or it's not a mechanic to the game, then why is it being addressed in this proactive statement? I don't know. I'm not being an old codger about it. Again, ultimately, I don't care if an adventure is male or female as a DM or a GM or whatever. I don't know, it's just kind of awkward putting it out there. You know, it's yeah. I'm just gonna let that pass. It'll probably come up again. It's like the third time now that this kind of a thing, this speed bump has come up. I think they had some attacks about their gender wording recently. Maybe Corrida, because it makes me feel awkward, and I'm not even against the ideas, but these things, I don't even know that they have to be said, because if they have to be said, what does that say about their audience? That Paizo and Pathfinder doesn't believe, you know, or maybe believes that their audience is actually a bunch of, you know, misogynistic, just like inhumane, inconsiderate people that have to be nannied and babysat with this language explicitly in the book. So someone can open up the book and say, look, you have to accept everything that, you know, that I'm doing because this line says so here. It just seems almost demeaning to a player who's open to the ideas that are presented. But when you put it that way, like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I keep coming back to this, and I should let it go. Take, for instance, a backpack. It weighs 2L. Oh, 2 light. If you stow it away, you're wearing it, it's only 1L. Oh, that's kind of awkward, bubonic. Yeah, slow-mo, I know, for PC. I don't want to touch on PC discussions. We can talk philosophy and politics and religion and whatnot, because look, those manifest in role-playing, and oftentimes we use role-playing games in fiction, or, you know, you see it in comics and other media. You see it as a way to distill current topics into something else that is maybe more intimate or conversational, even if it's fantastic. But when just it's dropped right there in front of you, it kind of Corrida, I think it's to try to counteract the attacks they've experienced that almost went to court. I don't know what you're talking about, Corrida. Illumines, I read the GM part. They refer to the GM as she. I was weird why they specifically were, and not the, well, because they is plural, Illumines. That's just not. You know, when it comes to he or she, as that's a part of the English language. You know, a lot of places will go back and forth, right? So one paragraph it'll be he's, the next it'll be she's, or one section it'll refer to a character that's a she and the other a character that's a he. I'm not too hung up on that. I don't really care if it's a he or a she that's stated. I don't read into that. Backpack is more bulky if you're carrying it as opposed to wearing it, don't you think? I'd have to look at that, specifically bubonic one. Bulk isn't weight as opposed to how much of a hassle it is to carry. Oh, I see. So it's a hassle meter, not a Hasselhoff. Hero points. Ah, hero points. Hey, Diadems, good to see ya. Your character usually begins each game session with 1 hero point, and can gain additional hero points throughout the course of the game for undertaking helpful tasks for the group or performing heroic deeds during her adventures. Your character can use hero points to gain certain benefits, such as staving off death, re-rolling a d20, and the like. See page 300 for more about hero points. Melee strikes and range strikes. Oh, Fluffy Sheep, going back and forth is really annoying in my opinion. Pick something and go with it. Every time you change pronouns, I have to stop and figure out what's different, and its usually answer is nothing. That's a good point too, Fluffy. Yeah, I think it is to carry 2 long rifles, or they're harder to carry than just say 2 pistols. Hence, they're more bulky. Gotcha, Bubonic One. Hero points or inspiration? I don't know. We'd have to flip to that page and see. Next, where you've noted your character's melee and ranged weapons, calculate her modifiers to strikes with those weapons and how much damage her strikes deal. For modifiers to melee strikes, add your character's proficiency modifier with her weapon plus her strength modifier, unless a weapons entry says otherwise, plus any item bonus from the weapon and any other bonuses and penalties that always apply. To the right of these lines, note how much damage... Okay, so you're plus to hit in your damage. Modifiers to range, add your character's proficiency plus dex. The right of these lines, note how much damage. For most ranged weapons, this is equal to character's weapon damage dice. Alright, so I don't see, at least in this paragraph, where we have anything that crosses over, like thrown for range that uses strength, or finesse that's melee that uses dex, or can. Perception. Your character's perception modifier measures how alert she is. The number is equal to her proficiency modifier in perception plus her wisdom modifier. For more about perception, see 301. And perception in this edition is used for, it says the majority of it's used for initiative. Or initiative is using perception, I should say. I know, Shlomo, I thought this was purely a narrative storytelling system. Resonance points. Uh-oh, Bubonic says, here's the hater love. Your character has a number of resonance points, which allow her to use magic items. Your character's total resonance points are equal to her charisma modifier plus her level. On the second page, write your character's charisma modifier and level in the appropriate fields. Her resonance point total goes in the fields marked maximum and current. For more on resonance points, see page 376. So, charismatic... I guess what? It's treating magic items as, I guess, conscious or beings that you can interact with more easily. So if you're a charismatic character, you can interact with them more? I don't know. I mean, we can argue that in D&D 5th edition... It's an arbitrary number of you can only attune to 3 items. But everyone can attune to 3 items. Unless you're the artificer from Unearthed Arcana. But everyone can attune to 3 items, so everyone has the same potential for that. And so it could make you question, so why is charisma a resonance, if you want to make a stodgy wizard, who's lived in a tower all his life, he doesn't know how to be around people, he's really awkward or he's just grumpy, so, his dump stat's charisma, yet he has infinite arcane knowledge. Why can't he pick up and use as many magic items as the very charismatic rogue who has, not 1 ounce of magical knowledge to him? Fluffy Sheep doesn't like resonance. Corita, when you throw dice at people, it means resonance points is like casting spells at higher level. It usually hurts, Corita. Sounds like it's the same thing. No more 50 potions per day. Bubonic One, it's giving all players use magic item skill, basically, because use magic skill is based on charisma. Magic item says, yeah, so Shlomo, magic item says to him, no. That's right. You pick up that you pick up the magic wand, and the wand says, I know your charisma score. You can't handle this. Be gone. You have to convince the magic item to activate. If it doesn't like you, it doesn't work. If that's the fluff, and that's the, you know, the in how that happens in the campaign world, then, you know, we can make it happen. I'm willing to be open-minded and optimistic about it. Like, on the surface, you're like, really? Are we tying magic item use to a stat? But that's right. You can't handle my strongest potions. So it's resonant points is kind of magic item use, and that's a way, I guess, to convince the magic item to work for you. Yeah, every magic item is sentient, right? We'll see. I don't know, 376. I think we're on page 13. We're getting there. We're getting there. Restless. Would kind of make sense for some items, at least, kind of like wands and Harry Potter. Yep. Bulk charisma characters, here we come. That's right. TJ, every character, max strength, max charisma. And we're going to roll over the world. That's right. Bulk must be in all capital letters. I think we can just make this a stream rule. If you're referring to bulk, please use all capital letters. Saving throws. Corridor, we're going to be doing this review for the next 2 weeks. From time to time, your character may need to determine whether she can avoid or shake off an effect or spell. When this happens, the GM will ask you to attempt a fortitude, reflex, or will saving throw, depending on the situation. For each kind of saving throw, add your character's fortitude, reflex, or will proficiency modifier as appropriate, plus the ability modifier associated with that kind of saving throw. Plus add any modifiers, bonuses, or penalties from abilities, feats, or items that always apply, then record this number on the line for that saving throw. For fortitude saving throws, use your character's constitution modifier. For reflex, use your character's dex. For will, use your character's wisdom. The 6 abilities. Yeah, this is a bulk stream, Illumines. Bulk. I may not have a user icon yet. I'm working on them. I may not have one yet, but maybe when I hit partner and I get a lot more slots, maybe we can just have bulk in all capital letters. Be one of the emotes. Oh gosh. Pocket Punch, you see that magic elevator we had created? Well, you have to be lucky to see if you can actually write it. Bubonic One, all classes have training in all 3 skills. Some are better than others. Restless, thank you very much. Run, follow me if you want to live. Bulkness. Now, hang on, that's a character name. You know, that's like, oh shoot, there's a whole MST3K bit on that. Bulk Slab Fist and Hulk Meat Punch and it's Slab Bulkhead and oh, I'm the first person to say restless correctly. Hey, I win. Strength measures your character's physical power. Strength is important if your character plans to engage in the hand-to-hand fighting of melee combat. Fighters, monks. Ooh, monks, huh? Fighters, monks, paladins, and rangers all benefit from having a high strength score. Strength also determines how much bulk your character can carry. Dexterity measures your character's agility, balance, and reflexes. Dexterity is important if your character plans to use stealth to surprise foes or make attacks with ranged weapons. Rogues in particular benefit from having a high dex score, as do rangers and some fighters, and monks. Some fighters and monks. A high dex score allows your character to reduce or avoid attacks and magical effects that can be dodged or outright evaded, such as a dragon's breath. Extra bulk. That's right, extra bulk modifiers. Constitution. Constitution measures your character's health. And, why not replace strength with bulk? Con measures your character's health and stamina. Constitution is an important statistic for all characters, especially those who fight in close combat. Fighters, monks, paladins, rangers, and rogues particularly benefit from a solid con score. Additionally, con grants characters extra hit points and makes them more resistant against poison and disease. TJ Fate, Bulkness, the Arcane Master. He comes from a long line of muscle wizards. Unlike the rest of his family, he prefers to use his mind, but that won't stop him from pile dropping you like an absolute champ. Int measures how well your character can learn and reason. Intelligence is a vital statistic for your character as an alchemist or a wizard, since these classes use complicated formulas or spell notations when using their abilities. A high intelligence score allows your character to perceive and understand patterns, and to pick up skills that can serve her during an adventuring career. Ooh, so is this still a holdover from 3rd edition, where intelligence gives you more skill points? Ew. Ah, I like that. What is that emote? That seeing the blown up version, that is, I lulled. Corrida sub badge for 1 month, 1 bulky arm. For a 3 month, another bulky arm. Sub badge for 6 months, both bulky arms. Oh right, so you have a bulk and a bulk. That's right, Illumines, we're gonna make Bulk Bogan. Oh yeah, brothers. I guess that's a little bit of Randy Savage mixed with the brother of Hulk Hogan. You get what I'm going for anyway. And Charisma. This score measures your strength of personality, personal magnetism, and ability to influence the thoughts and moods of others. Charisma is an important statistic for bards and sorcerers, and it grants benefits to clerics and paladins. Oh, I forgot Wisdom. I'll go back up to that. Charisma also determines your character's resonance points. So I guess we have Bulk and Rezo, or something like that? So we have a character Bulk, and then we have a character Rezo. Bulk Bogan is the Australian Hulk Hogan. Intelligence is a big dump stat in 5th edition. Making it give extra skills is one way to change that. Is intelligence a... Well, I guess it's a dump stat because only... Well, not only, but wizards are the only ones who use it. But you have Eldritch Knight and... Arcane Trickster. But I don't know. All those knowledges... Is it considered a dump stat because it's all like fluff RP skills and not like mechanical shove a boulder out of the path or something like that? Katie Sue just rated us with 5 viewers. Thank you, Katie. Great to see you. And for all of you who came over, welcome aboard. And Tifa, thank you very much also. It's a savage raid. Savage Bear TV's raiding with a party of 6. Lend me your strength, your power. Thank you all very much for the raids. Raids and hosts. Yep, those 3, TJ. And one of them is really a primary because Arcane Tricksters and Eldritch Knights are 1/3 casters. Kung Fu Buffalo, run! Follow me if you want to live. Raid hype, Buffy. Great to see you again, Buffy. I was told this is where the party was going down. Well, Kung Fu, we are going over Pathfinder 2E. We're not... King Pigeon. Welcome. Well, Pigeon or Pig John. Raid, 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 We are going over Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And we're wearing some nostalgia goggles for, other editions of D&D, or we're comparing what we're reading in this playtest material to other roleplay systems we've been a part of. Pig John. Okay. So, a pig named John and not a different way of spelling pigeon. As in the bird. Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster don't really need intelligence much either. They just tend to pick spells that don't use the save DC much. They don't usually use attack spells at all. Yeah, woo for the raid, everyone. Savage Bear, it has been an awesome night. High energy. we have a fun new word of the evening, and that word is bulk. So if you use bulk in the channel, please make sure it is capitalized. I will only accept bulk in all capital letters. Fluffy Sheep made a very good point bringing that up, and I think it'll enhance the community at large if we stick to that. If this is where the party's going down, plane shift to Carcery. This has become a bulk stream. Thank you, Rabbit. Thank you. Follow me if you want to live. Yes, I will only accept bulk in bulk. Wisdom measures your character's common sense, awareness, and intuition. Wisdom helps you understand religion and nature, and it's a crucial statistic for clerics and druids. A high wisdom score can help your character shake off mental spells and effects. Additionally, wisdom affects your character's perception, which measures how well she observes and identifies threats or curiosities. And remember, it said almost as a default, perception is initiative in this second edition playtest. So charisma is determining the number, like your magic item use. Wisdom is measuring your wisdom is your will save, and wisdom is also your initiative. Dexterity is your reflex save, and it could be a defense offensive stat. Constitution is your fortitude score. Wait, or was that yeah. Fighters amongst additionally. Yeah. Int is skill points, it sounds like. And strength is for bulk. Bulk is the channel's currency now. So instead of earning experience, you all earn bulk. Generating ability scores. When you're ready to calculate a character's ability score, follow steps below. All right, so we're coming to Oh, hey Daniel. Oh, you finished up touching on that bear race, the Ulfbert. I opened it up on the side, and we can explore it in a little bit here. For some of this, I want to save this for when we're actually generating characters on the stream, because I think it'll make a lot more sense to just have it flow in front of you. If you want me to go back and read a particular section, let me know, and I can do that. Typically an ability boost increases an ability score value by 2. However, if the ability score to which you're applying an ability boost is 18 or higher, its value increases by only 1. At first level, a character can never have any ability score that's higher than 18. So you can max out. If we're min-maxing at first level, you can only pour so much stuff into it to make something 18. And then after 18, it's a 2-for-1 ability to increase it further. When your character receives an ability boost, the rules indicate whether it must be applied to a specific ability or one of 2 scores, or whether it's a free ability boost that can be applied to any ability score of your choice. When you gain multiple ability boosts at the same time, you must apply each one to a different score. So, for example, if your character is a dwarf, she receives an ability boost to her Constitution score, her Wisdom score, and 1 free ability boost, which can be applied to any score other than Constitution or Wisdom. When your character advances the 5th, 10th, 15th, and 20th levels, she receives ability boosts in 4 different ability scores. These function similarly to the... Now, it is interesting that they have it at level 20. In 5th edition D&D, they give you your last ability score improvement or your stat bump at 19. Because often, the adventure ends at level 20. And this way, you'd at least be able to get some use throughout level 19 and then throughout level 20. By having it at 5, 10, and 15, 5, 10, 15, 20, you would get that last stat bump only on level 20. And I don't know how many campaigns ever... I mean, to be fair, how many campaigns make it to level 19 if you're starting out low anyway. But to have it at 20th level, you really get a lot out of that last stat bump. Time to play with the Fluff Puppy. I buy his tennis balls in bulk. All right, Fluffy. Thank you for stopping by and starting this wonderful, beautiful, horrible meme. Ah, a floof. A very fluffy, floofy, a floofy boy. Yeah, we'll take a look at it a little bit later, Daniel. No problem. Ability flaws. Ability flaws are not nearly as common in Pathfinder as our ability boosts. If your character has an ability flaw, likely from her ancestry, it means she decreases that ability score by 2. And that's something that 5th edition got away with. Or has done away, has gotten away with it. Has done away with. There are no negative starting stat scores like you found in in prior editions. Start with 10 on your character sheet or a piece of scratch paper. Write down all 6 abilities. Okay. This is a step-by-step. We'll do this when we get to character creation. Not tonight, but when we do character creation. So this is a nice step-by-step that we'll go through, and I'll have a form-fillable PDF, and we will do the step-by-step as our our intro to it. Rolling ability scores. The standard method of generating ability scores described earlier in this section works great if you want to create a perfectly customized, balanced character. But your GM can decide to inject... Ooh, hang on. So did I miss a standard array? Oh, no, because the standard array is all 10s. You started all 10s, sorry. You started all 10s, and then you add the layers on top of that. Whoops. Too far. I went too far. Alright, so you can inject a little randomness in the character creation, elect to let dice decide what kind of a character the players are going to play. In this case, you can use this alternative method to generate your ability scores. Be warned, the same randomness that makes this system fun also allows it to sometimes create characters that are significantly more or less powerful than the standard ability score system does or other Pathfinder rules assume. If your GM opts for rolling an ability score, follow the alternative steps. Roll 4 6-sided dice and discard the lowest result. Add the 3 remaining results together and record the sum on a piece of scratch paper. Repeat the process until you've generated 6 such values. Pick which of these values will become each of your ability scores. For example, let's again assume you've created using a fighter that's both strong and tough, and you've received the following values from rolling. 17, 14, 13, 11, 9, 9. You then assign them your ability scores. Okay. Ooh, yeah. By the way, that ability flaw, we're down to a 7 starting charisma. Magic items just flee from our very presence. But our bulk is strong. In the rolling method, you don't get free ability boosts or an ability boost from your class. Write down your scores and modifiers just as you would if you'd use the standard method. Okay. Ancestries and backgrounds. So, ancestries is races in 2nd edition Pathfinder. And backgrounds are, well, if you've played 5th edition D&D, it's a lot like that in concept. Your character's heritage determines which of the world's many people she calls her own, whether it's diverse humans, insular but vivacious elves, traditionalist and family-focused dwarves, or any of these other groups of people that call Golarion home. Golarion is the default campaign setting of Pathfinder. Both her heritage and her experiences as a youth might be key parts of her identity, and they likely shape how she sees the world and her place in it. And by the way, you can play a half-elf or a half-orc. However, they are variants of human. And so if you take human, you get a feat for being a human, an ancestry feat. And your feat is this kind of like template or this sub-race of human. You've seen a charisma score of 4. Oh, forever alone, Daniel. Your character also has a background that represents the training or environment she's experienced as a youth. This could include time spent working as an acrobat, a barkeep, or a farmhand, or an upbringing like that of a noble, a nomad, or a scholar. Your character's background affords her extra ability boosts as well as other benefits, such as a feat and training in a lore skill. If the feat of a character background begins on page 30 of this chapter. Alright, reading ancestry entries. Special rules. It'll tell you how many hit points your character gains from her ancestry at first level. When you determine your starting hit points, you will add your character's constitution modifier and the hit points provided by her class to this number. For more information about calculating HP, see Apply Your Class on 14. Physical size, your speed. Many ancestry speed is 25 feet, though some are slower or faster. Interesting. So if the default is 25 feet. Ability boosts. This lists the ability scores to which you apply ability boosts when creating a character of this ancestry. Yep. Oh, a boost and flaws. Elves get +2 to Dex, right? That kind of a thing. Languages and bonus languages. Traits. This list is mechanical indicators called traits that apply to all members of your character's ancestry. Traits your character gains through your ancestry often don't convey any mechanical benefit, but they are important for determining how certain spells, effects, and other aspects of the game interact with your character. For more about traits, see page 414. A most unpleasant half-orc barbarian. Wow, yeah, indeed, Daniel. Wow. Octa, why do ancestors get 25 feet? Most people only have 2. Well, we traditionally go back 13 generations, but unfortunately, old Grandpappy lost a leg in the war, and so we only have 25 feet among our ancestry. Special abilities are ancestry feats. This section presents ancestry feats, which allow you to customize your character. You gain your first ancestry feat at first level, 5th, 9th, 13th, and 17th, as indicated. Alright, so you have access to special feats. You know, 5th edition started doing this with some of the splat books that have come out. But by default, you do not have racial feats. Heritage feats. Ancestry feats that have heritage trait are feats that your character can only select at first level. Unlike with other feats, you cannot retrain your character to learn a heritage feat or exchange a heritage feat for one that was selected at first level. Your character can never have more than one heritage feat. Playing half-elves and half-orcs. Playing a half-elf or half-orc requires building your character as a human and then, at first level, selecting the half-elf ancestry feat or the half-orc ancestry feat as appropriate. This ancestry feat grants you access to elf and half-elf, or orc and half-orc, ancestry feats respectively, in addition to human ancestry feats. So you take it as your first level, like, heritage feat, and then throughout the rest of the game that unlocks anything that is human, orc, or half-orc specific. So it can make you, I guess, more adaptable. Family issues statify. Yeah. Playing as a human. Look, playing as a human in 2018, get out of here. Okay, so let's see. Darfs. 10 HP, medium size, 20 feet, speed. Ability boosts, 2 con, 2 whiz, and 2 to something else. And you get a -2 charisma. You learn common and dwarf. Your bonus languages, at first level, if your intelligence score is 14 or higher, you can also select one of the following languages. Giant, gnome, goblin, orc, terran, or undercommon. I understand, I guess, a check of having a certain intelligence allowing you to open up for more skills. I guess broadly, I can understand why giving a limited selection of languages is there. Although, wouldn't it be, I don't know, it seems a little arbitrary, right? Why couldn't you speak Elven if there's a forest that butts up right against mountains and the two people trade often? Why would the core rulebook go out of its way to limit a bonus language you know for virtue of having a high intelligence? It seems unnecessary and arbitrary. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Is having an intelligence threshold itself good or bad? And or is having a curated list of languages you can only know good or bad? Giant gnome, isn't that an oxymoron? Yes, Octa. Or Octagram T. It's to know your enemy, says Shlomo. Yeah, because Darf and Ilves hate each other. Dwarves and elves don't hate each other in their world. So does it seem... Does either the hurdle of the intelligence to know more languages, is that arbitrary, or does that seem reasonable? And then does the curated list of languages seem arbitrary, or does that seem reasonable? Half giant, half gnome, all human, TJ Fate says. Traits, you get dwarven traits and humanoid traits. Dark vision, you can see in darkness and dim light just as well as you can see in bright light, although your vision is black and white. Unburdened. If your speed would be reduced by armor you wear in the encumbered condition, you ignore 5 feet of that reduction. And here is a bunch of fluff, and maybe the fluff backs up the curation. I just don't see it as something that's... I don't know. Is 5th edition too loosey-goosey and this is more appropriate? Or is this inappropriate and the openness of 5th edition is exactly where it should be, left up to the player choice? Octagram T, Octagramped, Octagram, or just T, thank you very much for the follow. Shlomo, the GM should just allow any bonus language as long as it makes sense to the story. I fully agree. TJ says intelligence seems reasonable, but the list is something you can homebrew. Daniel, Maddie, remind me to tell you about a hilarious dwarf player I had when you GM'd a one-shot. Oh. Well, you can tell that story now, Daniel, if you wish. The list is something I would only enforce in an AL type game. AL? What is AL? I'm not sure I'm following that, TJ. Okay, various ancestry feats. Ancestral hatred. And by the way, yes, this is super reminding me of like the 4th edition ability cards and stat cards and attack cards and everything. Oh, Adventurers League. Gotcha. So in a lore-specific contained environment, I would agree. But is that the standard for what a rulebook should be enforcing? You've shaped your hatred of ancestral dwarven foes to a powerful weapon. Choose 2 of the following creature traits. Darrow, Duragar, Giant, or Orc. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to damage rolls against creatures with one of the chosen traits. If a creature with a chosen trait critically succeeds in an attack against you, this bonus increases to +4 against that creature for 1 minute. Okay. It sounds cool. I totally get it. Take this if you want more accounting on your character sheet. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's a thing, though. If a player came to me and said, I want to know merfolk as a language, my response would be justify and justify well. Exactly. I like that approach, TJ. Hey, Coffee Cat. Yar. Feline bean funnies be here. With a mighty yar. Special, your GM can add appropriate creature traits to this list if your character is from a community that commonly fights other types of enemies. See, here's a condition for allowing to go outside of the bounds. I love it. Why is it inconsistent? And, alright. Now, this is indicating, by the way, so this symbol up here, this is a reaction. That so you can see that there are. They've made these signs. So this is actually going to take 2 of your boulder roll. Will take 2 of your 3 actions that you can take on a turn. Ancient's Blood is a reaction. Trigger. You attempt a saving throw against a magical effect. Your ancestors' innate resistance to magic has manifested in you. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to the triggering saving throw. Your resistance hampers your connection to magic items. Reduce your total rezo. I mean, if we say bulk, I'm going to call it rezo. Reduce your total rezo points by 2, minimum 0. For more information about resonance points, see page 376. And boulder roll. Prerequisite mountain roots, see below. That's okay, so this is another feat. And by the way, this is a level 5 feat. You can't get it until level 5. Mechanics. I don't want to go through all of them here. There's a lot. Weapon familiarity, weapon cunning, stone cunning. So what this is doing, this is a mechanical way of doing the things that at least I've been preaching in our stream when we make our random characters. Especially for things like dwarves. For example, let's bring it up. Tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with the artisan tools of your choice. Smiths, brewers, supplies, or mason tools. Now, this just gives it to you. But is there anything saying that you have to only choose from those 3? Look, even in the 5th ed book, it does kind of imply you can only choose those 3. Although I would actively challenge you to say that if you want a cobbler, dwarves need shoes and boots too. And the race is opening up to you artisan tools of some kind of proficiency. A dwarven society needs that. You also have this dwarven combat training. You have proficiency with the battle axe, hand axe, throwing hammer, and warhammer. Well, what if your community didn't use axes? And only really used hammers because it's an underground, not a hill dwarf cutting down trees, but you're a hill dwarf. And instead you get, I don't know, proficiency in war picks and maybe something else. The ability, like the slot for it is there. I would highly encourage you to talk to your DM about it in this case. And so what you're seeing the difference here, right? You're buying, that's the Dungeon Master's Guide. So what you're doing here is you're purchasing individually these feats for your race that are specific, as opposed to being given kind of a general view in 5th ed about what you have going on here. Katie Sue, and I'm back. Sorry, but yes, glad to host good content channels. Thank you very much, Katie. I appreciate that sentiment and your host. Iron shoes, exactly. How else are we going to do 100% run in Ocarina of Time? Us dwarves just headbutt our shoes out of the stone. You know, or maybe, look, people need to make aprons or like beard sheaths. I don't know if there's a specific artisan name for that, but think about it. There's someone out there who makes either mail or leather sheaths for the dwarves to put, their beards in while they're working. Do you want to forge hot metal with a beard all big and vulnerable right there next to the fire? Or do you want to put like a big sheath on it and kind of tie it up in a ribbon on your head? Could be like a seamstress. Yeah, so maybe a seamstress or a leather worker makes, beard prophylactics kind of a thing, like a protective something. Also, by the way, if we're talking about challenging concepts, do your female dwarves in your campaign world have beards or not? Some do, some don't. Do you have to? No. Do you have to? Yes. Not necessarily. But it's always interesting to talk, because that's something you can bring up if someone's like, oh yeah, and so I'm playing this like female dwarven cleric of so-and-so, and you're like, oh, does she have a beard? See what happens if someone, if you're talking to someone about that, just for some funsies, right? All right, Katie's going to lurk mode. Be well, Katie. Thank you very much. Buy your beard shield today for only 30. I guess it would be like 30 silver pieces, right? 10 pennies to $1, $10 to Oh, so yeah, pennies to dollars. I guess that's to dimes, then dimes to dollar coins. Kind of a thing. Wait, but if you buy today, I'll throw in another one for just 5 gold pieces more! That's crazy! I've played in a campaign where only female dwarves... Ah, okay. That's an even more interesting take. Where only the female dwarves had beards. I met a Balrog. Does he have wings? And if he does have wings, would Games Workshop allow you to buy those wings independently to put onto Tyranids or demons because they look way cooler than the standard ones, except that GW won't allow you to do that and enter a competition because it would violate their license. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting way off on a tangent. Octa, if the male has a beard and the female has a beard, does that mean the child will definitely get a beard? I think it would be assured. If we're making a Punnett square, right, the genetic kind of the tic-tac-toe game of genetics, I believe that all 4 squares would have a beard. There's an ancient king who insulted Moradin, and as a result, Moradin removed all the male beards. I like that. And so do they feel ashamed? Do the males wear like prosthetic beards then, like wigs or something, or you know, do they feel the shame and have to cover their bare chins? Obviously, we're making kind of a euphemism for, you know, females and going bare-chested. Should it be accepted, etc., and so forth? But you know, do male dwarves have to feel shame for their naked faces and have to cover them legally, morally, religiously? All males are basically Fabio now. Oh, so they grow out their hair? Long golden hair? Okay. Okay, so here are the different feats that you can take for being a Darf. Let's go down to Ilfs. Dex and Int, you get +2, and you get +2 to one other for free. However, your ability flaw, which is a -2 on character creation, is Constitution, because you're a tad more frail. And it looks like Pathfinder elves are going for they're going for the long ears. Now they're not the anime ones. Anime ears go out this way, right? Anime ears are kind of like anime elf ears are sort of like parallel with eyebrows, like with long eyebrows, kind of a thing. But these look like they're more like antenna that are coming up. So big ear elves. Everyone has a preference. Small pointy ears, medium pointy ears, long. Do you want them up? Do you want them kind of sticking out? Daniel says, Dane Porrington here of Dane Porrington Beard Sheaths, and due to an overshipment of beard sheaths, I'm bringing the sales to you! Cat girls? I guess, you can, this is kind of like that. Although, isn't it always awkward when you see cat girls, or even just any kind of cat folk, that have the cat ears on top, and they still have the ears on the side? Do they listen in, like, super 3D mode or something? Like, what would that be like? To have, well, I guess not just stereo, although we can perceive surround sound with our 2 ears. What would that be like if you had 4 ears? Coffee Cat, I never understood how big ears or horns actually sleep on them. Would they be uncomfortable? Hey, Techna, we're doing really well delving into some Pathfinder here. Yeah. Oh no, I got the Family Guy reference. Now you just need a big you need like a big wacky wavy inflatable arm flailing tube man. Although it's actually like a wacky waving inflatable beard waving tube man. Their hair is grown into that shape, and for some reason their hair has nerve endings. Oh wow. So they can feel through their long golden hair. Oh, so they don't cut their hair because they can feel through it? Interesting curse. Languages: Common and Elven. Let's see. Again, bonus languages: Celestial, Draconic, Gnoll, Gnomish, Goblin, Orcish, Sylvan. Again, is this arbitrary? Is a curated list necessary? Is the higher intelligence necessary? Yes, no, to one, neither, both. You can see in dim light as though it were... Okay, ooh. So there is a distinction in Pathfinder. We can play more accounting. Elves do not have dark vision. Elves have low light vision, right? If we come back up here, you can see in darkness and dim light as well as you can see in bright light, though your vision in darkness is black and white. Down here, elves just have low light vision. You can see dim light as though it were bright light. All right. If you're going to take off, Coffee, thank you for coming in and saying hi. I very much appreciate it. Coffee Cat, everyone, by the way, plays Mordecai in our Tuesday role-playing sessions and is doing an awesome job, so thank you for that. So here we come to a design decision. It could make sense culturally, Shlomo. Think of this from a presentation point of view as a DM or a GM in this case. You now have 3 types of vision, arguably 4. There's whatever bright light. There's what normal vision sees in dimness. And of course there's no vision in darkness. But then you have low light vision, and then you have dark vision. This means if you have a human, an elf, and a dwarf in a party that is walking through a cave, as a DM, you are describing the cave in 3 different ways to 3 different players all sitting at the same table. And you may say, well, I'm just going to default and I'm going to narrate everything through the dwarf's eyes. Which you can, right? Because the dwarf has the superior vision in darkness. At which point, why bother then having low light vision or even kind of normal vision? And also, that is presuming a lot. And 5th edition has this too, although 5th edition, with the exception of Drow, I think that they kind of mean as a rarity, have simplified it to you either have normal vision or you have dark vision to 60 feet, and that's it. We're not playing games with all this other stuff because it's already too complicated and you have to describe the same room in 3 or 4 different ways to 3 or 4 characters who are all sitting at the same table. So there's meta practicalities, to saying, well, okay, so you have a low light vision elf. If you have a dwarf in the party, that makes low light vision worthless? I don't know. Yeah, please do, Coffee Cat. Thank you. I'll try and work that in as best I can. Daniel says, but he was a barbarian axe idiot archetype that kept having party toss him into creatures and such. Hey, Turvin. Welcome. In a dark forest, dwarf and elf will see the same. They would. I mean, so in a low light condition, they both would. But again, it just comes down to more accounting. And do you as a GM who's running a story with a limited amount of time for yourself and for the other players at the table, is it worth having 3, 4 different types of vision or whatever available to common player characters so that you have to go out of your way to describe these things over and over? And by the way, to this point, even for 5th edition D&D, I can make an argument that dark vision should not be available to the races. Or if it is, it's available as a feat or some other kind of special circumstance. Something to think about. Something to stir the noodles up top, right? Okay. Fluff, we can read it. We can come back to it. Let's see. Ancestry feats. Unwavering Main. Your mystic control and meditation allow you to resist external influences upon your consciousness. When you would be confused, frightened, or stupefied for at least 2 rounds, reduce that duration by 1 round. You still require natural sleep, but you're immune to effects that would cause you to fall asleep. This protects only against the asleep condition, not against other forms of falling unconscious. Weapon Elegance, which you can only take at level 5 or greater. But you do have to have the prerequisite of Weapon Familiarity, which is the one down below. You're attuned to the weapons of your elf ancestors and are particularly deadly when using them. Whenever you get a 5% chance on your weapon roll in the bow or sword group, you apply the weapon's critical specialization effect. And there are more ways to customize your elf over here. Whereas, again, in 5th edition, you just get elf. Elves are elves. Here's an elf. You get your sub-race for a little bit of variance. Maybe talk to your DM to wiggle things back and forth. In Pathfinder 2e, it does seem to present to you options. And I do like that as a concept. Because not all elves are the same. In my opinion. Dark Vision in 5th edition is, like, almost everything, especially as a player character, every race except Drow have a 60-foot Dark Vision range. Drow have 120 feet, specifically Drow. Now, there's monsters that have 120 feet and such, but to simplify things for 5th edition, they made the cutoff of Dark Vision at 60 feet. And almost every race has Dark Vision. Again, I think that's kind of a mistake. But, oh well. I agree, Memory Lapse. I think that it should be a little bit more nuanced or varied. Yeah, hashtag not all elves. I agree, Shlomo. It should be something like that. And, even before this, by the way, there's been a little thing that I've been working on the side that I'm going to open up to you all for opinions and playtesting on. That is going to be along those lines that you bring up, Memory Lapse. So, I mean, we're at the beginning of a new week. I didn't bring it up in housekeeping. Well, I mentioned that there are things in the works for the channel. And I would like your all's opinion on some effectively homebrew... Yeah, I mean, it's homebrew stuff that I'm making for 5th edition. That I would really like you all to put through the ringer and to give me feedback on. I'm not going to get into it too much here because we're focusing on Pathfinder. But if you like that concept, Memory and others, yeah, humans, halflings, and dragonborn do not have it. Turvin, that is an excellent question. And that is what my proposal that I'm hinting at is going to... I'm going to try and Indiana Jones the gold statue for the sandbag and hope that they actually weigh the same and you're not going to roll down and squish me like a big angry boulder. Or if you are, I'm going to be like Chris the Boulder Puncher Redfield from RE5 and I'll fight back against it instead of running away like an RE1. Gnomes. You don't like them for some reason? Is it because they don't have tails, Shlomo? I mean, look, you could be candid here. We're a big community. Is it because they don't have tails? Con and Charisma for Gnomes. And Gnomes also have racially large eyebrows, and that's fine. Or antenna. Maybe they're antenna. Their ability flaw is strength. They get common Gnomish and Sylvan. Draconic, Dwarven, Elven, Goblin, Jotun. I guess that's different than Giant. Jotun and Orcish. Gnome, Humanoid, and then they get low light vision. More Ancestry feats. Gobos, by the way. Gobos are a standard playable race in Pathfinder. Gobos are certainly interesting little buggers, aren't they? So here we have female elves. Female goblins and male goblins. Dex and Charisma are the ability boost, though you might not know that by looking at them. Wisdom is their flaw. Common and Goblin. Draconic, Dwarven, Gnoll, Gnomish, Halfling, Orcish. And goblins get Dark Vision. Well, so Shlomo, you can look at it in two different ways. Marketing-wise, Dragonborn are a unique, like, copywritten race for Wizards of the Coast in D&D that support Dungeons and Dragons, and it allows you to play a character of ancestry of the iconic monster. Cosmetically, with 4th edition, they wanted to change things up from 3rd edition and all the splat and stuff that had come out since then. And so in a non-like corporate, copyright law, marketization strategy, this is a way for them to start breaking away from the old RP tropes. And that's why Tieflings and Dragonborn came about as standard races. They're not technically a half dragon. If you want to call them maybe a quarter dragon. So, it took a couple generations, but finally enough humans kind of married into the family. And we have Dragonborn now as their own thing. Mara, hello, welcome back. I just want to play one. It's not like I'll try and kill them. Alright, so here's our Gobos. They are a standard race, and so if you want to play this +2 charisma... this +2 charisma race, because they are lovable little scamps, aren't they? Here we go. Ancestry feats. Burn it. Fire fascinates you. Your spells and alchemical items that deal fire damage gain a conditional bonus to damage equal to half the spell's level or the item's level minimum 1. You also gain a +1 conditional bonus to any persistent fire damage you deal, whether it's from a spell or not. Could you ask someone to say, look, does it have to be fire? Can I make it cold or whatever? I imagine so. I don't know. I guess so. City Scavenger, the greatest treasures often look like refuse, and you scoff at those who throw away perfectly good scraps. You can attempt a survival check to search for food and supplies, and to subsist in a city as well as in the wild. When you do, gain a +1 circumstance bonus to your survival check. Eat anything. Flameheart, as a result of either a childhood accident with flames or an ongoing fascination with fire, your skin has thickened, protecting you against burning. Razor Teeth. Your teeth are formidable weapons. You gain a Jaws unarmed attack that deals 1d6 piercing damage. Mara, thank you very much for that follow, and welcome back again. Memory says, personally, to explain further, I would only make it to sub-races that make sense. But, however, upon character creation, I would ask the player what they are descended from, say, mountain dwarves. If they only come from descendants of mountain dwarves that just live in the mountains instead of underground, then they don't have dark vision. Yeah, like hill dwarves. Like, I mean, they're kind of the above ground. Size small. Now, interestingly enough, they have the full the normal 25 feet move that medium races do. And CJ, thank you for that YouTube subscription. Dex, Wisdom, and a free one. Strength is the drawback. Okay. Various racial feats here. We'll get into these. And backgrounds. Acolyte, Acrobat. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to take a 10-minute break here. At Stream Elements, no problem. I'm going to take a break here. We've been going for a little bit. I'm going to go get a snack, use the restroom. If you all need to do the same, go ahead. And when we come back, we'll pick up by going through the backgrounds of that characters can take, okay? TJ, I'm really enjoying this, listening to the stream whilst doing meal prep, currently making a basic pasta sauce. Hey, if you want to share that recipe, I'm all about that. Otherwise, if you want to keep it a secret, that's fine. You tease. I'm glad that this is good listening material for you, TJ. And we'll come back and we'll narrate backgrounds. And continue on.